this is our X-ray facility. Every game day venue has one. This is adjacent to our locker room, adjacent to the field. It makes it very easy for both the home team or the visiting team to come up here. And not only that, if there's an injury that requires mobilization or stabilization, it's right next door to the ambulance bay. So it's just a very convenient place to have an X-ray room. One of the things that we highlight is our electronic medical record. Just like all hospitals and medical practices have, the NFL has an electronic medical record. It's how we monitor our players, get them prescriptions, how we look at their images, and it's also an injury surveillance tool so that at the end of the year when we need to look at specific injuries, we can look at that database and try to see if there's something we can surmise for it. And it looks like over the next year the NFL is going to be moving to an athlete-specific EMR, so that's really another novel thing that we do. And then the last thing we do that we can talk about here, and we'll talk more about it on the part about concussions, is every player in the offseason undergoes a baseline neuroconcussive evaluation. It's a test of memory and balance. It's very robust so that we know where you are when you start the season. And in the event you have a concussion at practice or in the game, we have something to compare you to when you did it at your best. We also do that in our off-season program. Okay? So, any questions on any of that?
How much is that's shared throughout the league? So if a guy changes teams, that would be a league thing?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, no matter where you are, where you go, that is your baseline evaluation and it's shared.
The entire medical record, just like your records,
right.
If you're in Kaiser or any other system, when you move to a new place, it's electronically shared.
Perfect.
I mean, that's the way the world works now. And so if somebody comes to the Raiders or leaves the Raiders, that record, the entire record of neurocognitive things.
All of it. Anything that has to do with
sprains, anything they've had, it's all in there.
The other thing to mention is something called our emergency action plans. So in the event you have a catastrophic form of illness, you have a major head injury, you have a cardiac arrest, you have heat exhaustion from when we're out in the heat, you have trauma to your abdomen, we have to be ready to deal with those on-field emergencies. So we actually drill for those in the off-season with our immediate team and some selected individuals that provide the greater team, and we have to know where our receiving venue is. Our receiving venue this is either for the practice facility has an emergency action plan, each stadium has an emergency action plan, and if you have camp somewhere else, you have to have one. So it's really drilling, preparing, and being ready. So that's our emergency action plan. That's the third thing that we kind of do as part of field level NFL health and safety. So there are so many different angles that we have that we may not be able to see at field level, right? That's the value of having our eye in the sky, if you will. So we can replay this as much as we want. It's primarily for concussion, but even if it's for a different injury, there are several different ways of looking at it. We also have the broadcast of CBS or whoever's showing the game. So we have several different ways of trying to figure out what happened at that moment, and that goes into our assessment for concussions. It's kind of amazing if you think about the amount of different angles that you could observe an injury or the field of play. This becomes incredibly important if you think about it. If we're sending a player or a player patient to the emergency room and we want to know exactly what happened, boy, a picture says 1,000 words, right? You will not find this kind of technology anywhere, and it really helps close the gap and provides better care. So there's that great element of it. And we also have a live feed to the local broadcast in addition to our own systems, because sometimes CBS or one of the other networks may have something that we don't see on our own. So it's really kind of looking at it in every way. And like I mentioned about cleats and helmets, it continues to evolve. It continues to get better. We try to learn what could we do better every year, and we apply it at the NFL level. And just so you know we have this concept of the medical timeout, right? The medical timeout is allowing our ATC spotters to stop the game of play. It's the first professional sports league that actually allows that. And the reason behind it is because, as you've seen at the field level, you can't see everything all the time. And sometimes, just imagine if, let's say that Josh Jacobs takes off for an 85-yard run. Everyone's watching the ball. But you know what? No one's watching sometimes the lineman behind or someone that's back there. So if they see somebody stumble or exhibit a sign or a symptom of concussion, they have and if they don't see medical personnel responding to that, they have the ability to call down to the side judge and request a medical timeout. The side judge would then stop the gameplay, take that player and take him over to his independent medical staff for an evaluation. So a medical timeout is an essential part of our game to build in safety. That's number one. They also work in tandem with the Red Hats, the unaffiliated neurotrauma consultants. We didn't spend that much time talking about them downstairs, but these are experts in brain injury. There are usually neurosurgeons, neurologists, or emergency room physicians that have extensive experience in brain injury, trauma injury, if you will. One of them sits up here. They are also not employed by the team. They're completely separate from us, but they are part of our greater medical team. They work in tandem with our ATC spotters so that we can get a good field of view. And from this vantage point, this is where we radioed up from the IVRS to them to kind of tell us exactly where we are. So this is just a great example of, hey, did you see, is there something else that we need to be aware of? So it's just another layer of built-in safety.